You've seen this bird before, in your garden, on your fence, maybe this morning. You probably thought it was cute. What if I told you that the sweet little garden bird you think is faithfully raising a family is statistically almost certainly raising someone else's children? Up to 40% of chicks in some blackbird nests are not fathered by the male who is devotedly feeding them. For in 10, meet the common blackbird, Turdus merula, garden icon, symbol of British spring, known for its soulful evening song, and one of the most sophisticated cheaters in the entire animal kingdom. Today, we are not going to talk about birds the way a biology textbook would. We are going to talk about survival strategies that look uncomfortably like what happens in human relationships: jealousy, infidelity, divorce, and a cold, ruthless thing called the genetic upgrade. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will never look at your garden the same way again. In early spring, two blackbirds find each other. He sings to her for days, sometimes hours without stopping. He brings her food. He guards her territory with an aggression that borders on obsession. By any definition, this looks like a devoted partnership. And in many ways, it is. Scientists call blackbirds socially monogamous. That means they pair up, build a nest together, and raise their chicks as a team. Two parents, one mission, one goal. But here's the catch, and this is the part the nature documentaries often skip over. Being socially monogamous says absolutely nothing about what's happening genetically. When researchers began running DNA paternity tests on blackbird nests in the 1990s, they found something that genuinely shocked them. In some populations, nearly 4 in 10 chicks were not fathered by the male who was bringing home worms every single day. He's working the dawn shift. He's defending the territory. He's sleeping on the perch right next to her every night. And he has no idea. Now, before we rush to judgment, we need to understand why this arrangement even exists at all. Why do they bother pairing up if the female is going to seek better genes elsewhere? Why stay? The answer is one word: winter. European winters are brutal. Raising chicks requires 2 parents, one to incubate and keep the eggs warm, one to forage for food. Without that partnership, survival odds drop dramatically. The social bond isn't just romantic. It's a survival contract. Think of it as a business arrangement with emotional benefits. And just like in human long-term relationships, once the structure is secure, sometimes people start looking out the window. Here is where it gets psychologically fascinating. Because this isn't chaos. This isn't random. Every extra-pair encounter, what scientists formally call an EPC or extra-pair copulation, is a calculated decision. And the female is the one running the calculation. She already has a mate who can help raise the young. Good. That box is checked. But what if his genes aren't the best available on the market right now? What if the male 2 territories over has a louder song, a glossier beak, a stronger immune profile? In blackbird biology, song complexity is a direct signal of genetic fitness. The male who can hold a sustained, intricate melody at dawn isn't just showing off. He is broadcasting live updates on the quality of his DNA. Every trill, every sustained note, every variation in pitch is a data point she is actively processing. She hears him. She makes a choice. And there's a second calculation running alongside the first. What if her primary mate carries a disease susceptibility she cannot detect? What if he's subfertile? An extra-pair encounter with a genetically different male is, quite literally, a biological insurance policy. She is diversifying her genetic portfolio so that at least some of her offspring carry resistance she can't guarantee from one source alone. Cold? Absolutely. But evolution doesn't do sentiment. Now let's talk about the male. Because he has his own agenda, and it is devastatingly simple. More offspring. More genetic legacy. 0 additional parenting cost. If he can fertilize a neighboring female's eggs without ever feeding a single one of those chicks, from an evolutionary standpoint, that is a win. His genes spread. His investment stays home. The math is clean. But here's where the psychology gets genuinely unsettling. Studies show that when a male blackbird suspects infidelity, and they do appear to notice behavioral shifts in their mate during fertile periods, he responds by feeding the chicks in his own nest less, not abandoning them, not leaving, just less. He reduces his investment proportional to his doubt. He cannot run a DNA test. He has no lab. But somewhere in the deep architecture of his instincts, there is a threat detection system running quietly in the background. And when it fires, when something in her behavior changes during the days that matter most, he responds with withdrawal. Measured, precise, retaliatory withdrawal. The scientists who documented this named it retaliatory neglect, which is, if you think about it, one of the most psychologically loaded phrases in all of animal behavior research. Sound familiar? Most blackbird pairs stay together for a full breeding season. Many return the following year to the same partner, the same territory, the same patch of garden they've already fought for. But some don't. And the question of why, of what actually ends a blackbird pair bond permanently, turns out to be one of the most revealing things in all of avian psychology. In long-term field studies, researchers tracked pair bonds across multiple breeding seasons. What they found was striking. Blackbirds divorce most often, not over infidelity, not over conflict, but after nest failure. When a clutch is destroyed by a predator, when disease wipes out the eggs, when the season produces nothing, the pair typically does not attempt another season together. They split. They find new partners. They start fresh elsewhere. Scientists call this blame attribution. We cannot say with certainty that blackbirds consciously assign fault the way humans do. But the behavioral outcome is identical to what happens when two people go through a shared catastrophe and come out of it no longer trusting the partnership. The association between that partner and failure becomes stronger than the memory of what worked. And the instinct says, move on. Failure to fledge is, in the blackbird world, grounds for divorce. And then there is what we can only describe as the midlife crisis. Older male blackbirds, birds in their third or fourth year, have been documented abandoning established pair bonds to pursue younger, higher fertility females when opportunity presents itself. A younger female represents more productive breeding seasons ahead. More chances. Better odds. He is not confused. He is not having an identity crisis. He is running an unconscious actuarial calculation with perfect biological logic. The territory next door has more earthworms, fewer foxes, and a female in her prime reproductive years. The green grass effect, the biological version of it, is very, very real. And it has been running in the background of animal behavior for millions of years longer than humans have had a word for it. Here is the part one need you to hold on to, because everything we've just walked through deserves its proper frame. Infidelity, genetic shopping, the calculated neglect, the divorce after failure, the older male trading up. None of it is immoral. None of it is cruel. It is the reason the species is thriving. The common blackbird is one of the most successful bird species in the entire Western Palearctic. It has colonized cities and suburbs, highland forests and coastal cliffs. It has adapted to industrialization, to urban noise, to the disappearance of the habitats it evolved in. It survived the Ice Age, extra-pair copulation, the genetic diversity seeded quietly across thousands of nests every spring, is a significant part of that resilience. When a pathogen evolves to target one genetic profile, there are other profiles in that same nest that resist it. When a predator learns to exploit one behavioral tendency, there are chicks with different instincts who survive and carry those instincts forward. When a cold snap wipes out birds with one physiological weakness, the genetically diverse clutch, the one where the female took her own quiet initiative, produces survivors. What looks like betrayal from the inside is armor from the outside. Every time a female blackbird seeks a genetic upgrade, she is not betraying her mate. She is future-proofing the next generation. Every time a male reduces investment when his confidence wavers, he is not being petty. He is redirecting finite resources toward the offspring he is most certain carry his traits into the future. The math is brutal, but the math works. It has always worked, and it will keep working long after any of us are watching. The next time you see a blackbird in your garden, singing at dusk with everything he has, I want you to remember something. He is not singing for the joy of it. He is advertising. He is competing. He is performing a live fitness broadcast to every female within earshot, hoping that this song, this note, this particular evening performance tilts someone's decision in his favor. And somewhere in that same garden, there is a female who has already assessed 3 different males this morning. Her mate, the neighbor, the stranger on the roof, and made a series of decisions so sophisticated that it took scientists decades of DNA testing to even detect them. We like to think of nature as simple, instinctual, uncomplicated. But the blackbird in your garden is running a relationship strategy that would make a therapist take notes. Nature's messy relationships didn't emerge despite evolution. They emerged because of it. Every compromise, every quiet calculation, every strategic withdrawal, it all feeds the same engine. Survival, continuity, the next generation. And if some of these patterns feel uncomfortably familiar, if some of what we've described today sounds less like a wildlife documentary and more like something you've lived through, well, we didn't fall far from the garden fence. Have you noticed the blackbirds in your garden? The territorial standoffs, the suspicious behavior, the male who seems just a little too interested in next door? Tell us your backyard drama in the comments. I want to know what you've seen. And next time, we're turning our attention to the bird on your Christmas cards. The one with the red chest and the friendly face. Because the robin is not what you think it is. The robin is, statistically, the most psychologically aggressive, territorially violent bird in the British garden. And we are going to prove it. See you in the next one.